Hello and welcome to a rematch against Doxbox and Darktom. I'm going to select my spawn point very rapidly while they take a little bit more time to select theirs. Looking at this planet, it is going to be very mountainous with a lot of choke points with ground forces, so that might cause some pathfinding issues, especially considering that this is the alpha build of the game. So maybe we'll see a lot of air being used here to try and counteract that pathing. Now, hopefully you watched the previous game of this, and we saw that Doxbox maybe prioritised the wrong forms of defence, while Darktom really pushed out with their army, rather than focusing too much on defence, trying to get that upper hand really early on. Now I'm going to go straight in here and delete my commander so that we can indeed spectate, and this crevice here, or fissure if you will, is going to be my grave, while we see that Darktom has spawned up near the North Pole near a very large number of mech sites over there. Hopefully they can keep that well defended. And trying now to find Doxbox, who's not spawned too far away this time actually. It's a similar size-ish of a planet, but again, the travel distance here is a lot shorter than in the last game. Doxbox has also spawned near in fact, lots of mechs points, so they were getting that early econ expansion up rapidly this game, and maybe getting their factory out a little bit sooner, because I think in this one we can't really assume that the players will be spawned quite so far away, and so maybe they'll want to get the factories up sooner. And here we can already see that Darktom is going for that vehicle factory, going to produce some skitters probably, indeed, to get out that early scouting. And this is what we usually see from Darktom now actually, in terms of early build. Prioritising the intel over the econ, especially if you get a good spawn. You can keep the commander producing the econ while you get that early intel out, and then getting some fabricators to follow up with the econ. Down here Doxbox is going straight for the earlier factory this time, and instead of bots going for vehicles and the fabber rather than the intel, but as we can see the commander is being utilised to get all of this mechs patches as soon as possible so that they can start mass producing earlier. The skit are going to come down here, maybe heading for these mech sites over here, although probably going to come down and swing across through this large patch of mechs, and they will get intel vision on Doxbox's spawn. Indeed, the skitter is heading towards that direction, so maybe Darktom again is going to have that intel advantage over Doxbox in this early game, and they will have seen the metal there, trying to stay out of vision range themselves, and now just coming in to see what they've built, and the commander is going to finish off that skitter. But now Doxbox does know that Darktom has seen their spawn, and will want to get some form of defense up now, once they have claimed maybe one or two more mech sites. And here we can already see those towers going there for the early defense. Learned the lessons of the last game, while Darktom is building their energy over here. Not a huge amount of defense or even offensive units being produced, excuse me, on the part of Darktom, which is interesting. Maybe some more factories could do to be coming out, although they'll want to claim some of these metal sites as soon as possible, given their large concentration right there. Darktom's commander continuing to build these mech sites, which is good, although we will want to see another factory coming out, but at least ants are being produced now for this early defense, really learning the lessons of the last game, getting out those units and getting up those defensive towers in the right places, especially considering the circumstances and the entry path of the skitter. Because it was seen down here, so they have got the tower up over there, although what they will want to do is maybe get towers on all four corners of their base at this point, which is developing in a rather square-like fashion, which says nothing about advantages or disadvantages. It's just an observation. Getting a second vehicle factory up soon, which is good, and in fact they're getting it up sooner than Darktom, who while they will be starting to build their first ant now, they are behind in terms of the factory numbers. and judging, they do have very similar numbers of mech sites. So actually, I might give Doxbox the economic advantage here, although I would give Darktom the intel advantage because they do know where they are spawned. Doxbox is still clueless onto where Darktom has spawned, although I think maybe Darktom might have tried to mislead and just make Doxbox assume that the spawn is more to the south than the north through the path of that skitter. This is evident with the fact that Doxbox is putting less defense to the north and a little bit more to the south, especially with that second factory going up over down there. And another factory going up down here. Now this is an interesting strategic move here, vastly reducing the amount of travel distance between Darktom and Doxbox by putting up this factory here. So we'll see a forward base start to produce these ants here for these early raids and putting the early pressure on Doxbox. So that will be interesting, and there's going to sort of establish, as I say, that line there to allow all of these mech sites to be claimed. That the commander is going to continue to build energy over here. I wouldn't be surprised if sooner or later we see this whole area covered with energy generators, and even Darktom starting to expand this way as well, because they know that Doxbox is down there, and Doxbox also starting to expand this way, claiming all of these metal sites. And we've also got a third factory up, a lot of energy starting to go up as well, but Darktom has got the energy advantage there. Although we do have a lot of fabricators focusing down on one building, maybe in terms of energy, unless it is a dire need at that point, maybe not the best idea considering the compounded inefficiencies of assisting in terms of fabricators. But again, now that these three factories are out, and hopefully with the economic viability of those extra energy going up, we'll start to see a bit more mass production. And also, we also see the skitter over here, so now they do know where Darktom is spawned and where their forward base is. So maybe it is now time for Doxbox to really start setting up this defensive line, which we do see here in this form of two laser defense towers. Maybe also maybe one or two just up here or around here, just to try and use this fissure as a choke point here, which is actually quite viable in this sense because you do have this mountain in the way. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we start seeing some artillery being produced by Darktom to fire over this fissure and start pounding away at these front lines, although the range there might struggle, but it'll be a lot easier to defend than were Doxbox starting to turtle up with artillery and pelters. Starting to expand over here, maybe going for a flanking maneuver with these ants, which indeed we may see taking out these expanded metal sites down here. And these ants are going to meet over here, and this strategy is going to become obsolete because, as I say, these tanks are going to meet. Though the superior numbers do go to Doxbox, but as I say, because they do meet, Darktom will be able to realise what Doxbox is going for and will start factoring that into their defensive manoeuvres. So we'll probably start to see some ants mobilising to the rear of their base rather than to the front. Although over here we also see 6 ants, 3 factories now in their forward base, and also a factory back here producing extra ants. And again, constantly producing this energy with the commander is good because of that faster build speed. Again, these ants are going to come through here, maybe starting to put pressure on, either bringing up and around here to bring in pressure on this energy site, or down and around to these mech sites. And that we see even more vehicle factories going up because of this expanded economic viability on the part of Darktom. So we'll see a lot of ants starting to really pressure down, and as I said here, we do have that pelter using that fissure as defense here, to maybe put any advanced pressure on any lines here that Doxbox might decide to produce. A lot of ants on the part of Doxbox, so if they push out now, you'll have slightly greater numbers on the part of Doxbox and can indeed start to put pressure on that front offensive line with the artillery over there. Other than that, these ants over here are starting to put pressure on this mechs over here, so maybe the Mass production on the part of Darktom is going to start being pressurized, although I wouldn't worry too much at this point because they have a huge number of mech sites under their control and a lot of map control. As a result, this commander is going to easily sweep up these ants, who are going to want to avoid contact with him at all costs, because otherwise this offensive push is going to be for nothing. Maybe just slightly weakening him, taking him off that energy. But again, it's not a particularly strong move in terms of economic damage. And maybe a little bit of misclicking or alpha-induced mispathing there on the part of Doxbox. And that we can see a lot of these ants moving out here. All of those ants we saw previously are going to sweep down and around in a different way now that they've sort of got them distracted over here with these mech sites, and the commander sitting idle, really wanting to push down this ant who's on his own. He's doing a lot of damage. This ant is now hopefully going to start moving down in a retreat, and no, instead they're going to get picked off very easily. Clean and job done. These ants are going to move over here because I would assume these have been seen by radar. In fact, no, there is none in range, so these ants over here may be starting to get over here for a path down, almost in anticipation, if you will, of an offensive advance here, while they take out and have a battle with these ants here, which will reduce those numbers. These ants can then smooth round and take the base, although that isn't going to happen apparently. With, as we can see here, these ants are going to go straight for a head-on assault when they've probably combined with these. In fact, no, these ones will go and defend their north base, especially considering that these ones are going to continue to come round and put pressure on those middle sites. An advanced vehicle factory here, so maybe we'll start seeing some shellers or levelers. Probably some shellers to assist in that artillery line right there, which is now completed with some radar as well. So anything that is attempted to build here is going to get sniped, and indeed this pelter is going to take out this artillery, and maybe that commander is also in danger sitting that close. In fact, I think he might just be out of range, especially with that mountain there, using that for cover. That we can see these ants almost ready to make a push into this economic site, although these ones also now have got a defensive line, so maybe they waited a little bit too long to actually start to push into that base there. We've got mechs all over the place, expansion all over the place here on the part of Darktom, which is really getting them an economic advantage, whereas Doxbox is staying reasonably localized. I mean, starting to expand now, but remaining quite so localized in terms of military production. And we also see an advanced vehicle factory going up from Doxbox, and Doxbox in fact has disconnected. Hopefully they will manage to reconnect. Yes, they do, so that is not a worry at all, although they will have missed that time which they may have needed to get their commander maybe building something over here. Excuse me. And these ants groups here are in almost groups of 3 now, getting a combined defense, and the group of ants that moved up here took out all of these mech sites and this base over here, while the rest of them are still in operation. So now the forward base has in effect become the main hub of military now, while the commander is going to try and re-establish these mech sites and a defensive line. Other than that, we can almost assume that Darktom is going to bring these ants down and through this mech's expansion to really start to cripple Doxbox's economy. This energy field here is quite substantial, and they don't really need to worry too much about continuing to expand that. But we do have a large number of ants here and a wall as well, which is going to distract this pelter. Will they get over the mountain? Yes, they do, and in fact they're not going for the wall, they're going for those ants that are in range of that pelter. They are going to want to move away, and if that isn't noticed, in fact it is, so that is not a worry now. But if it wasn't noticed, they would have taken out a lot of ants there probably over time. Strangely, the advanced vehicle factory on Doxbox's end has been produced a lot faster than Darktom's, who only has one fabricator, although they did have Doxbox having a lot of fabricators focusing down, and these ants are going to form almost a pitched battle there, almost evenly pitched. We've got pelters assisting from Doxbox and from Darktom. We've also got laser towers from Darktom, which are going to put Doxbox's forces under pressure. That is an unfavourable match for Doxbox, especially at that close range to those laser towers. Maybe bringing Darktom over onto Doxbox's own terms was a better idea, and possibly even a switch to air would be something to Doxbox's advantage. Although, as we saw, these ants did come around here and take out all of these metal sites and are now going to push into the main military hub, and that is a lot of ants right there, almost too many probably for Doxbox to handle, and I wouldn't be surprised if that will concede the game, because those ants are great in number, and that has just taken out 2 vehicle factories, which is going to put a severe dent in Doxbox's production, and also a few energy facilities as well. The pelters are going to assist, but too inaccurate to do any lasting damage. Command are just going to stand around up here, not utilising their faster build speed, which is somewhat of a disadvantage. Darktom continuing to expand to many metal sites now. Has a vastly superior economy right now. Doxbox is severely localized, and in fact they do have a mini base going around down here, almost in anticipation of a larger secondary push from Darktom into their base. Although if they can get some levelers out, as we can see with all of this assisting, they might even be able to push back and pull this round to their advantage. Excuse me. Again, these pelters are going to continue to pound at any forward defences that are produced here from Doxbox, so maybe it is time to rethink defensive lines, and or maybe even rethink terms of what sort of military avenue you wish to take. But with these secondary advanced vehicle factories going up, we are going to see some levelers coming out from Darktom as well to even up that battle. All of these ants going to come round here. Getting that T2 radar is going to reveal all of this movement down in the base, but all of these ants are going to sweep round to this weaker defensive line here, and these ants are going to anticipate that, in fact, and are going to do that well. Maybe seeing that all of these metal sites have been eliminated, and will aim to assume that these ants will try and take that avenue again. Although that would be somewhat naive from Darktom, because Doxbox would, as you can see here, aim to set up a defensive line, and hopefully they will follow this around with a commander building some point defense. And this time, unlike last time, it is in the right place. Although, as I said before, the expansion here from Doxbox is very minimal compared to Darktom, who now has a vastly superior economy. I wouldn't be surprised if we could actually see some more factories being produced from Darktom, whether T1 or T2, because they can probably support a far greater mass production than they actually are exhibiting right now. And this wall is about to go down from pelter fire. There we go. We do have a pelter still there, although it's not going to be doing a huge amount. These ants again going to come round and eliminate these couple remaining mech sites, which is going to be slightly irritating for Doxbox, but isn't going to do too much damage in the greater extent of things. Although at this point their mech sites numbers are dwindling in comparison to Darktom, so I believe every mech counts. And over here we do actually see some wall spam, which is something of a dubious and debatable technique there, especially considering gentlemen's rules. Although I'm not sure whether these players agreed on perhaps not doing gentlemen's rules beforehand. I was not privy to any possible conversations they may have had regarding this topic. Indeed, we see these ants pushing down here into this base. They are going to get to this vehicle factory here. The leveler is going to get stuck there, and that is a little bit of alpha getting a disadvantage there. The leveler is going to get stuck, but they are going to take out some ants as well. It is built just in time before that factory goes down, so that can continue to produce. Although these ants at this side, this combined assault here is really putting strain on Doxbox's dwindling forces, but the levelers are ready, they are produced, and they are going to chase down these ants, and the ants are going to keep moving south and find this secret base down here. Which is going to also probably decimate this, because there is very little, if none, in terms of defensive measures down here. These ants here, 3 of them, aren't really going to do anything, but they will put a little bit of aggression back to these ants, which are now, from Darktom's perspective, tearing through a support base. And again, we can see more Darktom's forces sweeping around the side, and they are going to meet this wall spam right here, and they're going to go, whoa, we do not want that. We are going to keep moving round and round and round. We can also see a lot of levelers starting to be produced here, so that evens up on that front, at which point this now starts to put Doxbox back at a disadvantage, because they did not utilise their leveler advantage. As soon as you get levelers out and you know where your opponent is, especially if they are being aggressive, you do want to start pushing out yourself, otherwise they can easily tech up and negate that advantage. So this entire support base is going to go down there, and is only just going to be produced, although sniped almost instantly as it came off the production line. Such a short life there from that ant. But you know, it's a bug's life. Oh, sorry for that reference, there we go. Other than that, Darktom has really expanded to almost all metal sites, in a reasonable range of the actual workers that are doing it, so they have a ridiculous amount of metal now, and I really am surprised that we do not see a lot more factories from Darktom. But as I say, these ants from Darktom are going to continue to sweep round and pass through Doxbox's base, continuing to put pressure on those lines, and those pelters, because of the advanced radar, can now see that wall spam and are going to be slightly concerned by it. In fact, we do also have a lobber now, which with any luck will start to put pressure on that as well. Where is the lobber aiming? The lobber is taking out these mech sites that remain, and Doxbox is really put in a sticky situation here, trapped between 2 blocks of ants, a few levelers that can come out and really start to put pressure on, and a bit of artillery. The only really conceivable route of escape now is to the southwest. But the commander is going to follow back down to the south, as we can see. But maybe not the best idea, although I think the last hope for Doxbox at this point is using this army to come up and sweep through the econ base of Darktom, although these ants are probably going to meet up with this army here. This is the last force of Doxbox, although as I say, we do have a couple of factories remaining, but the econ is put under pressure here, especially in terms of energy, through which we now only have 5 sites. 5 lonely energy sites are really going to put pressure on the leveler production, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the end of that, especially as these start to come out. We also have a sheller there as well to maybe put pressure on these, but they are going to be there to block any form of advance. You do not want to send the ants in first, you really want to let the sheller do its job before doing anything else, and those are going to come in now and tear through this with ease, leaving the main base in wreck and ruin. This is going to come back round through the metal sites and eliminate those. The commander sitting down here just waiting for his turn to be called to the firing line, as if you will. Well, this army here desperately trying to make a push, but again, it is about killing the commander, and if this commander can maybe avoid these other armies while this one pushes up through the mech sites, so maybe this commander here is really about even in terms of travel distances. In fact, I'd say maybe Darktom a little bit closer, but if this army can now veer off to the east and keep going north, they would get to that commander. But it appears this is not going to be the case, and Darktom will probably therefore... Actually, interestingly, they have pulled their forces back, rather than just using the remaining T2 bombers and things, which are Hornets in fact, to deal with this army. they have decided to bring these back instead, which is an interesting move, especially considering it's now giving this commander time to leg it around the south. Lol those walls, Darktom says, while they see them. Now there's nothing left of Darktom's base, just tearing through those walls just because they can. Having a little bit of fun there, taking those down. Going to meet these two armies together, making a large vehicle blob. And these ones going to come down and finish off the remaining buildings, to the point that it is now a form of manhunt, if you will, while this commander runs around desperately trying to stay alive. Although if he keeps moving back, he is going to meet these ants and levelers, and he is going to get taken out, or at least put down to severely low HP numbers. Let's just follow the route of this army now for a little while. Going to tear through this energy site, although we do have a second energy site, so that'll do minimal damage. Again, the commander is quite close to this army now, as is the ant army to the rear, so as long as they can keep moving through the base, they are going to stay out of range of these ants while the shellers and levelers keep firing on them. In fact, they're going to take a small task force down, microing their forces here really well to keep these at bay while these ones continue to push through. And the other commander from Darktom is going to start legging it away. He sees what Doxbox is doing, and he's going to try and get out of there as soon as possible. Let's have a look at where Doxbox is going. Maybe he's going to try and move up with his commander through all of these metal sites, although doing that would put him at risk of a commander snipe. Though I don't think we actually have any Hornets remaining from Darktom. These forces now really starting to push through, exploiting the weakness in the terms of the defensive lines and the army divided. But this one coming back up through the base is going to put pressure on this frontal assault, and I believe we do have an outnumbering number of levelers, although we do have the sheller in support. But as I say, I believe levelers outnumber Doxboxes, and those are going to get taken out and cleaned up. So it appears that the last force of Doxbox is gone, so they are now at a severe disadvantage, and it is a matter of time before their commander is found and eliminated. They don't seem to be doing too much with their remaining bases, although this hummingbird here is going to maybe see this fabricator, seeing the direction he's heading in, and can therefore assume where Doxbox is going to sit, and bring in some military to finish him off and wipe him out. Again, we do see these vehicles coming down here, going to press up into, well, through the south and come up to this commander. Maybe the commander realizing, I don't want to outstay my welcome with that energy site, especially considering the hummingbird is now over, and they have got the intel on the commander. That hummingbird is going to stay over the commander, and it is now incredibly likely that Doxbox will be finished off in the next minute or so, depending on how long it takes the armies to actually locate that commander in terms of their projectiles. But as we see, the hummingbird is just going to keep making sure they know where that commander is. And because this is a game about killing the commander, it's not about having bases, it is about the commander. Doxbox is playing a very desperate game now, maybe wanting to do some Rambocom, although sitting by this fissure isn't going to be the best idea. Maybe getting stuck in the fissure, actually, very nearly doing so, and he does. He's now stuck in the fissure, and that is gonna make it very hard for tanks to actually do anything to actually kill it. So, rather interesting survival tactic from Doxbox, almost burying themselves in the planet's crust there. So those tanks can maybe move over directly over the top. I mean, if the commander can go over the edge, why not the tanks? So the tanks are now going to surround that commander. This is rather interesting, because at this point, this T2 Faber is maybe going to finish off the rest of this, but the commander is going to be stuck underground while these tanks can't do anything. He's going to wander up, but what we do need now are some bombers, just to drop a little bomb or two straight down into the fissure and finish them off. In fact, there's a tank gone into the fissure too, in fact. So maybe the commander isn't actually in the safe space that they should be in. And I think I might call it there, because as these ants tear through here, they are going to find this fabrication bot. And there's going to be nothing left for Doxbox to actually be able to do. While these tanks just sit here, trying desperately to erode the crust to get through to the commander, but they aren't going to do so. So unless we actually get some bombers who can drop some bombs straight in there, we are unlikely to see an actual commander death here. But I do think that is a GG, especially considering the econ is so low here. So I think I will call it here, folks, because well, I will let you know if it does become a stalemate or whether Doxbox does concede defeat in this instance. But as I say, it's very unlikely that this base is going to amount to anything, although you never know. But anyway, I'll call it there. Thank you for watching. In fact, I am going to resume commentating here because we do have an advanced vehicle factory coming up here in this subordinate base, and as slightly cheap as this is, and actually now they are starting to do damage to that commander, but as I say, as cheap as this is, it might pull it back round to a sneaky level of push from Doxbox, but I highly doubt it. The damage is starting to be done from tanks that are starting to get into the fissure now. They are all going to get into the fissure. They are going to gangbang the commander in the crack there. So many innuendos in one place, so many tanks in one place, and only one commander left going, what is wrong with this world? And indeed, they can't really do much. I mean, the commander is going to try and shoot some of these tanks using the D-gun there, taking out a few. The rest of these tanks are going to drive round and try and get an angle on this commander to see what they can do. But we do have more stuff being produced over here, not anything substantial, especially considering that in the rest of this base we have ridiculous numbers of units. So unless this game goes on for a very long time, and it doesn't, the explosion is on its side, and that is the game from Darktom. Well played there from Darktom, expanding far and wide, while Doxbox was left relatively boxed in, if you'll excuse the pun. So thank you for watching this rematch, and come back for some more Planetary Annihilation very soon. It is on its way, so make sure you subscribe for that. Drop a like or a comment if you will as well, and don't forget to share to your friends. Thanks again for watching. Return soon for more, and have a nice day.